Hi, Angie B here, and I'm standing outside the Kenton Theatre in Henley, where we're about to see the arrival of the hit musical Godspell. It runs from the 19th to the 21st of September and is being performed by the Reading Operatic Society. I'm about to go inside and have a quick chat with a couple of people who are responsible for putting this musical together, and I do believe it's one for the audiences to come and see because it's a musical with a slight difference. So, hi guys,
Hi.
Godspell, and wow, what an interesting musical for you two to tackle. First of all, we've got Andy.
Hello.
And we've got Del.
Hi.
And Andy, what is your role in this production?
I'm the director.
You're the director, and Del?
I'm the choreographer.
Great, so we've got the dream team here in front of me today, yeah?
How we like to think of ourselves, yeah.
Okay, so Godspell is being put on by Reading Operatic Society and is going to run from the 19th to the 21st of September
That's
Yep.
correct.
at the Kenton Theatre in Henley.
With 2 shows on the Saturday.
2 shows on Saturday, lovely. Okay, well, let's start from the beginning. Why Godspell?
Well, let's be honest, Reading Operatic chose the show, as they do as a committee, and then try and find a director and a production team for the show. I didn't know it too well, I knew it a bit, but I have to say, as I've gone through it, I didn't quite realise how funny it was. The songs are fantastic, it makes you laugh one minute, it makes you cry the next, and with the twist that we've put on it, I think it's going to be a really heartwarming night, but also a crazy night as well, hopefully.
Yeah. No, I agree. Definitely. I think it's a really different show. I don't think Reading Operatic Society have done anything like it recently. And I think the twist that we've put on it as a production team is really different. So I think it's quite a fresh production to come and see.
That's really good because, I mean, Godspell was sort of around, the 1970s, similar musicals to Jesus Christ Superstar, Hair,
Yeah.
Rent. Have you found that this is a particularly challenging musical to put on?
I think it was redone, it was rewritten in 2012 for Broadway, and we're doing that version of it. And I think what it is now, what we've done and what the Broadway version does a bit more, is it's taken it away from being enveloped in the 70s. It's now more of a timeless show and it could be a community anywhere. It's much more of a timeless piece. So we've made it much more modern, much more sort of funky, if you like, and it could be set anywhere. So I suppose that is a challenge, but it's also really free. It gives us much more freedom as well. So
We've had much more scope to do what we wanted with it. I think the 2012 production is a bit more timeless compared to the 70s version, which is kind of stuck in that age almost.
So for those who might not be too familiar what Godspell is about, can you give us a brief synopsis of the story?
it's a really interesting. It's the story of Christ, but not quite as simply told as it's told in Jesus Christ Superstar, if you like. So Act 1 is basically a series of parables. It's a series of stories told in different styles of music, told with different styles of acting, lots of audience interaction, if you like that sort of thing. If you don't panic, you don't have to. You're going well. And then Act 2 is kind of when it really kicks in and the story kicks in, and these characters that you've grown to love in Act 1, these timeless characters, because the actors all, apart from Jesus and Judas, the actors all play their own names, so it's very much them on stage, and then Act 2 is very much the unravelling of that, and then finishing with the crucifixion and maybe the resurrection. Maybe.
So going to the beginning of putting on any production, we have this long process, don't we, of auditions for the parts, and obviously the dance routines and the movement, the choreography. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how you go through auditioning people for the dance and the movement?
Yeah, sure. So we, as myself and Andy, sat down and we decided which number we thought would be the best one to take a sort of section out of to see. We basically want something that was really diverse for the cast to see what their abilities were like. How I made a couple of bits quite easy, some sort of more difficult bits, just to sort of see what kind of level the cast could bring, what different styles they had. So we chose a part of the number from All for the Best, which is a more Fosse number, and it's quite contemporary, but the speed changes throughout it, so it was easy to see which people were picking up slightly quicker than others. And I think the whole audition process was all about having fun and of the cast, because it's quite a quirky piece that I taught. I really wanted to see them bring their own personalities to that piece, because I think that really shows what they can bring to the production as a whole.
Excellent. I mean, that shows obviously your creative skills and obviously your history as a dancer to bring all of those elements in. And actually, as a reflection of the show, isn't it? And the strong cast that you must have, because they've got to really be able to do sort of triple threat, all elements, haven't they? Singing, dancing, and acting.
Yeah, definitely. I think the one thing that's really difficult about Godspell is that the cast members are on stage constantly. So there's no kind of, oh, we'll go off for this bit, we'll go have a sit down in the changing rooms, change costume, have a cup of tea, relax before we go back on again. This is a really, really intense show, so they've got to be on their game for the whole thing. So I hope they're ready for it.
Wow, sounds amazing. And so really, how long have you been rehearsing? When did rehearsals start?
When did we start rehearsals? It feels like about 10
about
years
1986. No, a few months. Few months.
Couple of months.
I mean, I mean, it is as Dale says, it's an insane show, because we've got a cast of 13 only, so they are working their socks off. But at the same time, we've got 5-part harmony, ridiculously difficult dances to do, roller skating.
Roller skating.
Yeah.
Roller skating.
Is this the right show? Isn't that Starlight Express?
Well, yeah. We've got a little bit of Starlight Express.
Yeah.
We've got trampolining, magic tricks. So it's just, Hopefully they'll leave. Hopefully the audience will leave exhausted and
uplifted.
And the cast certainly will.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I think you've just answered what my next question was going to be, and that was why should audiences come and see this production? But obviously you've
I
just
think the best
told
thing is I don't think anyone could guess what they're going to see with this.
No, absolutely not. This is watching this production come together is not like anything I've ever seen before. Even from sort of West End shows or Broadway shows that I've seen, or amateur productions, I've never seen such a diverse mix of talent in a show. Never.
So hi, Bridget. I've managed to track you down at last. You are such a busy lady, aren't you? Doing all these sorts of creative, wonderful theatre things as well as radio. But Godspell, tell me more. You are the musical director, and when did you decide to take on the role of doing this musical director for Reading Operatic?
Lying on a sunbed in Sorrento, and got the text from Andy saying, "Please music direct Godspell." And I said, so I listened to a couple of numbers and went, sod it. No, I can't say that. I'll do it. And
Brilliant. And so when you decided, obviously, to agree to do Godspell, when did rehearsals begin, or when did you start looking at the score?
I'm trying to remember now. I mean, I think it must have been sort of in May that we started and quickly got into it. And the more I listened to the soundtrack, because we were doing the revised 2012 version, so it wasn't how I remembered it from the 70s, when I was very, very young, of course. It really grew on me. I absolutely love it. I think it's a really clever score. It's fantastically rewarding, and the singers are fantastic. So it's by Stephen Schwartz. You know, what's not to like? He wrote Wicked, and so it's just perfect.
Brilliant. I mean, like you say, it's sort of a different version that you're doing to what perhaps people have seen in the past. So when you start to rehearse with some of your singers, how do you go about helping them get these tunes right?
Well, we obviously do it line by line, and it's making sure everyone knows which part they're doing, because some of it's 6-part harmony. And then on the Saturday, we have rehearsals Mondays and Thursdays. On the Saturday morning, rigorously, I put down each track, post it on Facebook and say, right, now learn your lines properly. And now that we're into the last weeks of rehearsals, I'm setting everyone a very small challenge every single day, which is just like 12 bars of something, just bits that need sorting out or bits that are very exposed, and just saying, right, people more or less know it, but here's your little challenge for every day. And that's really taken off. So tonight I'll see how the challenges have gone down for this week.
It's all about repetition, isn't it? And just reinforcing those musical notes. Yeah. And in terms of the score itself, what's challenging for you? Do you find any one particular part of the score a challenge?
Well, I've never worked with guitars. I've done one show which was Little Shop of Horrors, which had a guitar in it, but I tend not to do shows that have lots and lots of electric guitar in it. So actually reading the tablature and talking to the guitarists about different things and saying, oh, I don't really know that vocabulary, that's a challenge. That's been interesting. I mean, I know what it should sound like, but I'm not a guitarist, and I'm a wind player, so it's interesting, and I'm learning new stuff.
It's good to push ourselves, isn't it, and just go a little bit further beyond our sort of boundaries of, well, with yourself, instruments, because I know that you play other instruments apart from the piano. So forming an orchestra or a band for this production, how have you gone about doing that?
Oh, well, my right-hand man, the drummer, who's done all my shows with me, in fact, he texted me yesterday to say, this is absolutely brilliant. The part's really accurate. It's the same as recording. It's going to be really fun. And my other right-hand man, I have two right-hand men, Simon, who's our keyboard player, and then Pete, who has played for me before, guitarist, a second guitarist and a bass player. So we've got 5 in the band.
Brilliant. And when
I should add that Stanley, who is one of our cast members, also plays ukulele, electric and acoustic guitar on stage, and the piano and the trumpet.
Wow, so
Yes.
what doesn't he play?
Well, precisely. And he's a great singer.
Oh, great. So you have really got a talented group of musicians and
absolutely.
artists around you, haven't you?
Absolutely.
And when do they all come together to rehearse with the cast for the first time?
So we have the band call Sunday before we go up on the Thursday, the Sunday afternoon, and that's always the cast's most favourite point, because you know everything you've been hearing on the soundtrack, suddenly you hear it live, and there you are singing with the band. And the band have all got their parts, so hopefully they'll come note perfect. I'm sure they will. They're all seasoned professional musicians, and that's when we put the tone in and the different sort of feel for each song. Agree on speeds, because when you've got lots of dancing, you have to make sure the speeds are consistent.
So I've managed to grab 2 of the cast members in between quick rehearsals, and just going to have a quick chat and find out a little bit more from their point of view. So we have Sai.
Yes.
And we have Ajani.
Yep.
Okay, and welcome, guys. Thanks so much for just giving me a bit of your time. And tell me, what part do you play, Sai?
Oh, so I'm actually named Sai, and I really like the fact that you can almost bring your own kind of vibe to the role. You do have like a little bit of background about the character, and mine's someone who's a bit of an eager beaver, who's always putting their hand up first to get involved. So I really liked bringing the energy to that, and I've just really loved doing the variety of dances and, you know, hearing the variety of songs and different genres that are brought to the show as well.
So do you have many songs to sing?
I have one, but we sing on every single song, so it's a bit of a challenge for us in that we're on stage all the time. And for me, I'm not someone who can sight read, but I'm really into music and I love hearing it, and that's how I learn. So I've just been listening to the recordings that our musical director Bridget has really kindly recorded for each and every part, for each and every song.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
I'll be doing the washing up listening and all
As
in
you
the
do.
car. Yeah, as you do. And drumming it into my mind.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. And tell me, your character, who were you playing?
So I'm playing Jesus.
Okay, the main man.
Yeah, that guy there. Yeah.
And tell me, both of you, what was it like actually auditioning? Do you still get nervous when you have to go through auditions?
Yeah, definitely. It's the kind of thing where you're always jittering until you're there on actually doing it, and then everything seems to wash away. I don't know if that's my experience with it.
Well, for me, I hadn't auditioned for anything for about 7 or 8 years. I used to do a lot of performing when I was younger.
Oh, okay.
And it kind of petered off, and I thought, oh, why don't I audition for this show? Read up a little bit about it, thought it sounded very exciting, but I was still really nervous because it's the first time for that long. But
Yeah, it can be quite daunting, can't it? Especially if you've had a break from the stage or from performing for a while. But obviously you've both performed in other productions before, have you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we're full into rehearsals. Production is looming quite soon. What would you say has been the most challenging for either of you along the way? Anything?
I would say, because we've got such a fast-moving script and we're all equally involved in it, sometimes it's hard to practice at home because you've got all these different little snippets happening with different characters. So that's probably been challenging for me, and I'd say that I'm stronger at dancing and singing, or it comes more naturally to me. So I've been able to pick that up a bit faster. So I'd definitely say the drama side of it's been a bit more challenging.
For me, probably the singing. You know, it's a triple threat, but I always find the singing the most difficult, I'd say.
Okay. Well, I wish you both all the success with the production. I'm sure you're going to be absolutely fabulous. Obviously, the first night's not that far away now, but all the best. And again, is there anything that you could sort of say that you've learnt from this production that you otherwise might not have learnt? You know, anything about the show or anything about the characters?
There's a lot of there's a lot of improv in it, so that's been new for me. I'm used to sticking to a script quite heavily, so it's been interesting being able to get out of my comfort zone, doing a bit more improv, a lot of comedy. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, mate.
Well, as I said, thank you so much for your time. I wish you all the success. I really look forward to coming and seeing the production, and all the very best.
Thank you.
Cheers.